wondering how I got into this mix.
Hello everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network. Today is Friday, December 23rd, 2016, and this is the Conscious Resistance Live, episode number 61. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please go ahead and give me a thumbs up when you can hear me, and we'll start getting into the news. We got several topics we're going to cover today. I'm going to go ahead and share this wide as well to all the pages that I admin. And if you could do the same thing, share this on your timeline, share this with friends, share this in any groups that you are a part of or any pages that you admin. That would be great. Get people tuned in. And once you start sharing it, also please comment below. Let us know where you're listening from, so we can all know where we're coming from. And hopefully later, when people are tuned in, whether they're watching live or as this airs later, they understand that this is a global movement, people awakening to understanding our own personal power, understanding the lack of necessity for external authority, central authority, whether it comes in the form of state or corporate entities, and generally moving humanity forward to a place of healing, of compassion, of sovereignty, of mutual aid, and fostering a better world that cares about not only the individual but the planet and all life on this world that we cohabit. So yeah, go ahead and let everybody know where you're tuning in from. I'm sharing this out right now, and then we'll get started. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, my name is Derrick Broze, B-R-O-Z-E, with the Conscious Resistance Network, theconsciousresistance.com. I'm also a journalist with the Anti-Media, theantimedia.org, Mint Press News, mintpressnews.com, Activist Post, activistpost.com, and collab with the Free Thought Project, Mind Unleashed, Wake Up News, Era of Wisdom, Collective Evolution, and several other independent alternative media pages and websites to get out real information. And the Conscious Resistance is our way of bringing together the message of anarchism, individual empowerment, and a spiritual awareness to look into the conscious aspects, understanding that healing has to take place on a much deeper level in order to get past the mechanisms of state and corporate power. We have to do healing on the individual level. So the path towards freedom, as far as we're concerned, is one of both spiritual growth and healing, as much as fighting the physical manifestations of power that we see in government. So let's get into this. The Conscious Resistance Live, we've been doing this for going on 3 years now, episode 61. Obviously, we don't do it every week. I'm kind of busy, but I wanted to give a big thanks and shout out to everyone on the team. This past week, our page reached 20,000 likes. Woohoo, 20,000. Obviously, as I said, I work with the Mind Unleashed and Anti-Media and several other pages that are reaching tens and millions of people every week, and that they are the ones who have really allowed us to grow by letting me have a place on their team and believing in my work and supporting my work and supporting the message of the Conscious Resistance book series and the website, the Conscious Resistance book right here, which I co-authored with my friend John Vibes. These people support our work and the message that we're trying to do, so they let me run my show and admin on their page so that I can get my message out there. And that it wouldn't be possible without every one of you and people like Aaron Nelson and others who are really just supportive of everything I'm doing and the message that we are doing here. So thank you to everyone who helped us reach 20,000. I do think that we're going to continue to grow. It looks like if you watch our growth pattern that we've been on, we're going to just continue. And 2017 should be a really big year, especially because in 2017 we're going to launch the Conscious Resistance Tour. We're going to travel around the country spreading this message of community building, of freedom cells, of agorism, of building outside of state power, and this conscious resistance, this conscious evolution, spreading that around the country and helping people get their freedom cells going in their community, and doing that over a matter of 30 to 60 days across the U.S. Music, meditation, speaking about the information contained within the book series, and helping people build the freedom cells. So lots of good things happening in 2017, and I'm excited about the growth. So thank you guys for helping us do that. And over the last 3 years, we've done this, the Conscious Resistance Live, as frequently as I can, as I feel like it. We take a look at topics that I've been writing about through the websites I write for, Activist Post and the antimedia.org. And we also take a look at maybe different topics. I'm going to take questions from you guys, hopefully inform you and inspire you. That's what this is all about. Earlier today, I did a video for the Anti-Media's Facebook pages. You can go check that out. And I basically was talking about the beginning of a new text list for the anti-media. And for those of you who follow me, you may already be a part of my text list. I use remind.com, this website, to run my text list that helps me every time. If you're on my text list, basically every time I send out I have an article written or I have a new video, any piece of content, I share out a text message. And if you're on the list, then you get it directly to your phone. And this allows that no matter what happens with independent media or with social media, we can still communicate with you directly and get information to you and to your phone and help you guys get that out there. I'm posting that right now, the link if you want to follow my journalism, remind.com, check that right there. And you can get the text lists, text updates directly to your phone. So I just created one of those for the anti-media, if you follow the antimedia.org. And this is the way that we are showing that the independent media, the alternative, what I mean to that is we're the alternative to the anti-established or to the establishment media. That doesn't mean like we're the alternative, they should be your first choice, this quote unquote mainstream, what we like to refer to as the dead stream. No, in reality, we are the alternative to the establishment viewpoint, and I tried to make that clear today. So our goal with anti-media, activist posts, and many of these other websites is to have, we do have a bias. Our bias is towards questioning the official narratives of the government and the state and the corporate entities that try to run and rule our lives and interfere with our lives. So we show that bias, though. We let people know that we're going to question those narratives and we're going to question what the status quo says, but we're not going to make up things. We're not going to be fake news. But because of this fake news push, and we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, I've written articles on it, and we just did this new video. Check this out on the YouTube channel or the Facebook if you haven't got a chance yet. It's called Fake News is the New Weapons of Mass Destruction. It's got about 8,000 views on YouTube and much more, like 150,000 through Facebook. We've been getting some good Facebook views, but Fake News is the New Weapons of Mass Destruction. It's a short 5-minute video, and it talks about Hillary Clinton and this push, propaganda push. It compares it to the push for weapons of mass destruction in 2003, pre-invasion of Iraq, and how that was a narrative that was pushed everywhere, that all these officials and all these pundits on the corporate media said that they had evidence and the people had to believe them, that this was, there was no doubt in their mind. They knew exactly where the weapons of mass destruction were at, and they knew exactly what to do about it. And now we have the same thing happening here with this fake news. So we did that report, Fake News is the New Weapon of Mass Destruction. We talked about last week how the Facebook had announced that they're basically going to start creating they're already testing this new report fake news post thing, and many of us in the independent media are concerned what's going to happen once all of our posts are down at the bottom of the feed, the timeline, and people don't scroll in to see them. What's going to happen when they pull out ad revenue for sites that they deem either Russian propaganda or fake news? Because again, every site I write for, Activist Post, Mint Press News, I've been a guest on the Corbett Report, the Anti-Media, we've all been linked to, according to this organization Prop or Not and Washington Post and other corporate publications, we've been called fake news or Russian propaganda. So what's going to happen when they use that as justification to take us off the internet? We need to find a tool. So I have my text list for journalism that I posted earlier. Now I have a new list, and if you want to follow the anti-media directly, and I'm encouraging my brothers and sisters who are independent media to do this as well. Use a website like remind.com and go sign up. The one for the anti-media is remind.com/join, JOIN/AM updates, all one word, remind.com/join/AM updates. And I just posted the one for my journalism link if you want to follow all my work. But basically, this is a way for us as independent media to continue doing what we're doing. And even if, let's just say, they shut our Facebook pages down and they somehow drastically destroy our reach, we are still able then to put the information in your pocket, in your phone, and get directly to you so that you have the information. Then after that, you can spread it on social media. And maybe they will mark it as fake news, and we'll have your friends who will dismiss it immediately because it's been deemed fake news. And maybe eventually we will just be in an echo chamber. We'll just be talking to ourselves, right? At least, though, the information will stay alive. And if you look at the history and understand all the history of totalitarian fascist regimes, one of the first steps they do is go after the freedom of the press and suppressing that so that counter opinions are not allowed. And if we allow that to happen, if we allow the independent media, the true alternative anti-establishment media to die, if we do nothing but write articles, post about it on Facebook and complain and say, oh, well, here they go again, but we take no steps, then we have nobody but ourselves to blame. We don't want to be reactive and wait till the day that we wake up and all of a sudden these great Facebook pages, and some of them have turned into legitimate outlets, like the anti-media. It was started by Nick Burnaby, who helped co-found the March Against Monsanto, and he started it just posting memes, and now it's grown to a team of people, including myself, writers, editors, and we are doing our best to become as professional as possible, but without selling out to corporate establishments or to the government itself. So we're doing the best that we can, and we need the people's support, and we need you guys to join these lists so that we can keep the information alive and directly to you, regardless of what happens through social media. And even if that means we end up talking to ourselves in circles, and I think this is a possibility that the future we see this divide between those who have been really brainwashed, so to speak, or disillusioned. These are the ones who are buying into the government propaganda, right? And they totally believe that the independent media is Russian propaganda and they shouldn't read any of them, right? Well, then you're going to have this class of people who don't question the government, who believe every piece of propaganda from them, and maybe they think that pesticides are good, and they think fluoride's good for them, and they think that the state is good for them, and they don't think that there's anything such as weather modification or geoengineering. You get my point? There's this person that's buying everything that the party line is saying, and then you have this other class of people who are not drinking the fluoridated water, and they're not buying the propaganda, and they're staying aware, and they're raising their kids in a new way and educating themselves in new ways. Eventually, there's going to become a very apparent difference in these two different types of people who are growing up and experiencing life in a different way. And I think that when that becomes more evident, we will probably have a clashing of those who are worshiping and following the state and who have been propagandized to do that, and others who are breaking away and creating something new. So if you want to create something new and join us in this new frontier, please let go of the statist delusion that government or corporate power are going to lead to solutions, or that they should have anything to do with regulating our news and what's real or not. But again, to do that, that's going to require you to do a little bit of work. So join these text lists and be willing to have some discernment and to look at these topics and these issues for yourself and looking with your own mind and not just trust anybody, because if you're unwilling to read past just a headline, then you feed into the reasoning why people say, well, we need someone to regulate social media because people spread fake news and it gets everywhere, and I don't have the time to research myself, or people think that you're too stupid to decide for yourself what's real and what's not. And if you don't practice discernment and critical thinking, then maybe they're right. Maybe you're not capable of taking care of yourself. But I don't want to believe that, because that's what the government tries to say, and they try to justify their action and say that the people are incapable of taking care of themselves. But I know that's a bunch of bullshit. So let's move forward. This next story here, next two ones relate to water, and this one is about Flint, Michigan. I just wrote this for the anti-media. 4 more government officials were charged for Flint water failures. And this is, of course, an environmental story, a story about the water, also about activism, about community support. It says, on Tuesday, state prosecutors charged 4 former government employees with conspiring to violate safety rules for their roles in the Flint water crisis, as a result of an April 2014 decision by one of the controversial unelected state-appointed emergency managers. Flint residents were exposed to dangerously high levels of lead via the city water supply. The city water supply was changed from the Flint River to Lake Huron, which caused highly corrosive water to leach lead from the city pipes into the public water supply. So now Michigan prosecutors are assigning at least part of the blame to 4 different people, 2 former city emergency managers, as well as a public works superintendent and a utilities manager. At a press conference in Flint, Attorney General Bill Shuar said the former officials continue to operate the city's water treatment plant, knowing it was not safe to do so. Flint was a casualty of arrogance, disdain, and failure of management and absence of accountability, the lawyer said. Reuters reported some critics have called for high-ranking state officials, including Governor Rick Snyder, to be charged. Snyder has said he believed he had not done anything criminally wrong. Snyder's spokeswoman Anna Heaton said by the email that the state remains committed to helping Flint recover. If found guilty, these 4 officials face prison terms of up to 20 years and or fines. Flint Mayor Karen Weaver also told Reuters that the new indictments reveal the failure of the much maligned emergency management system. You guys know anything about this emergency manager system? Have you heard about this? If you haven't been paying attention to Detroit or Michigan, it may have escaped your view, but it's definitely something you should pay attention to, because I think in a future where we have more economic turmoil in certain countries, or certain cities, like you saw in Detroit, and corporations buy up what they can left of the property, you end up with things like emergency managers, which are appointed by the state, emergency manager system. Basically, they're appointed directly by the state, and they're not beholden to the city themselves, so they're not beholden to the local communities themselves. The emergency managers answer to the state, not the local government. The EM system has come under fire recently for its mismanagement of Flint, in addition to its mishandling of debt at Detroit public schools. So I think that's an important point to make briefly here, is that as the city is crumbling under its weight from the failures of the state, and then in the absence, once people start vacating the city, you have mass properties abandoned in Detroit, which is why there's fires, there's tons of really cheap property that people are buying up, and the corporate entities sometimes will come and take over. They'll buy up all that property, and they'll just wait for the city to revive itself, and they have control in that way. The state itself is collapsing, and they're not serving the people as typical. So they appoint these emergency managers. It's nobody that you voted for in your city council that you went and asked for this person to come in. This person comes from outside of your community and then gets to make decisions that override the local officials. So it's insane when these type of things happen, but this is proof positive that there is corruption even on the local level. So these 4 indictments are only the latest in a line of 13 state and local government officials who have been criminally charged in relation to the Flint poisoning. Although Michigan Governor Rick Snyder believes he has done nothing wrong, Attorney General Shuar stated no one was above his investigation. And whether Snyder or other high-level government officials will be charged and convicted remains to be seen, but for now, Clint may have help on the way. You guys remember a couple weeks ago, the Army veterans coming to Standing Rock, the weekend I was there, just a few weekends ago. Many of those veterans have said they plan to head to support the residents of Flint, Michigan, and provide them with clean water, since they are dealing with poisonous water due to a failure of the state and corporatizing of their community. It's another failure of the state. It's another reason why groups like the Detroit Water Brigade have been amazing, because they're an example of people coming together and helping themselves. The Detroit Water Brigade has provided water to communities all around Detroit and the surrounding areas who have had their water turned off, while corporations in the city are able to owe millions of dollars and they continue to run water. Neighbors and residents of the actual communities owe only a couple $100, and then their water gets turned off. So the Detroit Water Brigade will come in there, and they have what they call groups of angels, but it's essentially the idea that I talk about of freedom cells and mutual aid groups. They come together, and they will literally block the trucks who are coming to turn off the water for residents and say, no, we're not going to let you in. Then they will physically provide and come bring water to people who who don't have water, or are unable to pay the bills, and have lost their water supply. But it's still a battle that's taking place, and it may not be in the limelight now. People are forgetting about Flint. People are forgetting about what's happening in Detroit. But Michigan overall, the whole state is dealing with some crazy, crazy stuff. And as Aaron Nelson just posted and said, Solutions Institute is doing some good work for Flint as well. And he posted a link there about a water delivery there in Flint. So check that out. Thank you for that reminder, Aaron. The next one here relates to water as well. Water, mini wachoni. So this one, Ecuador's Standing Rock is happening now. Can the world help save the Shuar? Right there at activistpost.com. Now this talks about a struggle of the indigenous people down in Ecuador who are dealing with similar militarization that we've seen taking place here in North Dakota and northern Mexico on the Yaqui territory and other indigenous communities around the world. So this one, though, deals with the Amazon and the forest, what some people call the lungs of the planet. In defense of their land, their communities, and of the earth, the Shuar people in the community of Nankins, excuse me for saying it wrong, and surrounding areas are resisting the gross violation of human and natural rights by the Chinese mining consortium EXSA. Ecuador's government, led by President Rafael Correa, had been approving licenses for Chinese extraction ventures in some of the most pristine and biologically diverse areas of the planet. And essentially what we have here is they're selling off mining rights to indigenous communities' territory to Chinese companies, specifically here in parts of the Amazon. It says tensions have been rising ever since as the conflict expanded across the region, with varying levels of violence being reported by both sides, signaling the possibility for a seriously bloody confrontation unless appropriate pressure can be brought to bear on Ecuadorian officials to convince them to work towards de-escalation. And there's plenty of video here and reports from the Amazon Watch organization within the past 2 days saying that there was a forced removal of the Shuar families from their ancestral territory to make way for mining operations. So this is happening right now. This struggle has been taking place for years, but within the last couple days, these indigenous communities have been pushed out of their homelands and to make way for this mining. Now let me see if I can show you one of these quick videos. They have several videos here in the article, and I'll post a link to you guys so you can see yourself. But this was just posted in the last couple days. There's the militarized police coming in. You can see a woman trying to stop them. They're coming into the community and they're being forcibly removed and taken out of their communities in order to make way for a mine being built by a Chinese company. Now, remember though, and if you've listened to any of my reporting on the Dakota Access Pipeline, or really any of my reporting in general, I'm always trying to see how can we take a look at what role we're playing in the things that we don't agree with. So for example, if you are against the Federal Reserve System and central banking, fractional reserve banking, and the economic enslavement that that represents, but you continue to use the dollar, the Federal Reserve note, and in some ways you're working against yourself. So it's up to us to find ways to limit our use or involvement of the products and the companies and the institutions that we know are working against our freedom and our rights as free, beautiful, amazing people. So in this case, this is a Chinese mining company, right? What are they mining? What product are they using? What are they taking out of the rainforest? And do we use it? Do we use it on a regular basis? Because if so, we are a part of that demand that exists that allows people to justify these type of decisions. And the results of that consumerist mindset of the demand for whatever product it may be, whether it's lithium ion or uranium or some other thing that the government wants to use or that they want to sell back to us in fancy devices that are convenient for Facebook Live, we see the true cost of that with these indigenous communities. And I've said this before, I fight for indigenous communities and indigenous people around the world. I visited the Southern Paiute and the Western Shoshone in Utah and Nevada to talk to them about fighting a nuclear waste repository that's coming on their land. And you know, when you think about this, I've tried to justify in my mind the fact that I use this camera, I use this cell phone that has lithium in it, and knowing the danger and the harm it's causing to the earth in order to extract those things so that I can use this and broadcast to you and hopefully change the world and speak a message of truth. But I would be very hard-pressed to say I find it justified if you took me to the communities where the lithium ion is being pulled out of the ground, where the lithium is being pulled out of the ground, and where the rivers may be poisoned because of that process, or where their homelands or the earth is being destroyed. It would be difficult to say, you're right, yeah, this is still justified. Look at my camera, though. I promise you I'm doing good things out there in the world. But I think we have to come to a place of not settling, but knowing that we can definitely work. My hope is that we reach a state of equilibrium where the work that we're doing involving these products that also still involves being destructive to the earth in some ways and destructive to communities, that we're able to spread enough awareness and resistance to these things that we can change them before it's too late and we reach some sort of state of equilibrium. But it's an important thing going on right now. I just posted that link, I believe, to you guys, the activist post link, Ecuador, the Shuar, and they're water protectors out there. They're protecting the Amazon and the water and everything. So check that story out, very important. This next one is a preview of an article I just wrote today. I've written two today. I don't believe it's up yet on the Anti-Media. Let me double check. Nope, it's not up yet. So what we're looking at here is my edited version. And it says, Houston police throw away food given by homeless advocates. That's the title we went with. And that should be up on the antimedia.org shortly. But the issue here is an attack on the homeless. And we talked about this a little bit last week. Again, we do this show every Friday, 5 p.m. Central. right here at the Conscious Resistance Network, and we share through a lot of different pages. But the issue here that we're talking about is an attack on the homeless population, and specifically in Houston, but also understanding that this is a scenario that's playing out in cities all around the country and probably all around the world. We definitely documented in South America, most recently in Rio, Brazil, during the Olympics, as the homeless populations were pushed out and caged and taken away in some instances. So this story I wrote, it relates to a situation that unfolded yesterday here in Houston, downtown Houston. I'm friends with and work with tons of different homeless advocates and activists. In fact, this Wednesday, at the Freethinker House here where I live, the community space, we hosted a benefit for Food Not Bombs Houston and another organization raising money for feeding the homeless and for giving them winter clothes and things like that. So I'm very involved in this type of community. But Houston has passed an ordinance 3 or 4 years ago, 2012, 4 years ago, that made it illegal to share food with more than 5 people at a single time without having permission from the property owner. And you have to get a certified kitchen and all sorts of other BS stuff, just designed to make it difficult for the free person out there, supposedly free, to be able to feed their fellow brother and sister. Because sometimes it's not about why somebody's choosing to be homeless or if they chose to or not. It's just about they need food and you have food and you provide that. So there was a situation yesterday where several friends of mine and other activists and homeless advocates went out to different parts of downtown Houston where there are known homeless populations and started giving out hot food and blankets and gifts and different things. And they were doing this in different parts of downtown. And then sure enough, somebody was filming as the police showed up and started questioning and saying that supposedly somebody complained about them feeding the homeless. And they actually brought a Waste Management, which is the company here that does the trash recycling in the city, the trash and recycling. They brought this Waste Management truck and they made everybody throw away all the food and all the blankets and all the jackets and everything they gave. All the homeless people who were given these gifts, after the people who'd given them left, the police showed up, stopped all them, told them it was illegal, and made them throw it all away. And this was videotaped by several witnesses nearby. And then friends of mine were also harassed as they were giving away gifts in a different area. And there's video. This article should be up on the Anti-Media tonight, hopefully. It should be up pretty soon. And it'll have all the details and the links to everything in there. But basically what I talk about is how this is not, a unique case though. When it passed in Houston as an ordinance, it was actually resisted by the largest group, the largest coalition of religious activists and political groups that Houston's probably ever seen, who oppose this BS ordinance that said it's illegal to feed more than 5 people at a time. So San Francisco has similar bills. Denver has similar bills. As I said, it happened in Rio. And what I ask in this article, and what some people have asked, is this push against the homeless a part of the preparedness for the incoming Super Bowl this February or this January? I don't watch football, American football, but this year Houston is going to be hosting Super Bowl 51 or whatever, and as it gets closer to those type of games, those sports games, typically the city tries to beautify it. They put a lot of money because there's a lot of tourism coming in, and they pass ordinances or regulation to push the homeless population out, at least during all the festivities out. And this happened, as I said, in Rio during the Olympics. It's happened in San Francisco. It's been reported in plenty of other areas whenever there's Super Bowls or big championships. And, the city has known about this for several years, and we've seen them slowly passing ordinances around the town saying it's illegal to stand or sit on the sidewalk or in one place between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 p.m., which is obviously designed to stop people from just loitering or just being outside. And I understand that there are homeless people who have general or realistic mental health issues and who can be a danger to other people. I'm not saying that we should just let people harm anyone or anything like that. My point, though, is that when you look again, if you don't just take a summary of things, a Cliff Notes version of events, if you look at the actual causes of events and see that the state and others are at the root of these problems, you can start to understand that simply just criminalizing the homeless and telling them to get out of this part of town or to leave one side of the city for another, that those solutions do not work. We have to actually strike at the root of the problems, not hit the branches, and not just look at the simple answers. Some people will say, well, call the cops, get that homeless person out of my community. But do you ask how they got there, or if they want to be there, or if they have mental health issues that the police won't help them with? Because what I've come to see is that if you call the cops on a homeless person, more than likely, just because they're bothering you, they're just going to take them downtown, throw them in there for a little while, and then throw them back out on the streets. And if they do have mental health issues, more than likely they're not going to get the proper help that they need in those institutions, because they're geared to treat people like criminals, not like individuals who have health issues and who need help, need support, not to be treated like a violent, dirty criminal. So screw that. Ignore that behavior, act like a real human being, treat other human beings like human beings. If you see somebody on the street, say hello. It doesn't matter what condition they're in or where they're from. Sometimes just a simple hello or a smile is enough to change certain things. And then maybe beyond that, you're beyond the superficial, you're able to get to a place where you can actually offer help and assistance to individuals who want that help. Our goal here with the Freethinker House, for example, what we're doing at the Freethinker House, me and two other guys, is we have a community garden that we just recently in the last week have made a deal where we're going to start selling our crops to the Central City Co-op here in Houston. We're brewing our own kombucha that we're going to start selling to local markets, and we're trying to do this in a counter-economic way, which means using the black and gray markets, not using the Federal Reserve System when possible, or at least not paying taxes on it, and taking money out of their status economy and putting it into a new economy where we can build something better. Not so we can take over and become the state, but so we can drain them economically, morally, physically, and of spiritual support as well, by creating and focusing on new solutions and new ideas that serve the people and don't serve this status institution. But that's going to take a bit of work. So to get there, we have to do self-reflection. We have to look at the way we treat other people, understand the revolution, the evolution is in the conversations. It's in the day-to-day actions that you take. If you treat people like shit because you feel like shit, then you're not likely to really care about what's going on in the world. Or if you do, maybe not for the right reasons. Maybe you care enough about the world, but just because you want to control other people and tell other people what to do. But if you understand that, we've all got healing to let go of, and, insecurities and doubts and fears to get a grip on, and we can grow and heal as people, and you see that in others, and you have empathy and you have compassion, then it makes it a lot easier to find common ground as we work towards creating a new world. We have to get past our ego and the silly need to want to be right all the time. I have my principles that I believe will change the world, and that people can evolve past the childish need for state or parent figure or corporate figure, or anybody telling them what to do, and finding our own truth. But at the same time, I recognize and I respect that my brothers and sisters have different experiences that might lead them to different conclusions, that God speaks in different voices in different ways, and we all come to freedom and this understanding on a number of paths. So on that path, I try to find the common ground that we can focus on together and build from there. That is my goal. That is what the Conscious Resistance is all about. TheConsciousResistance.com, the Conscious Resistance Network, my books, my activism, everything that we do here on this team is about being a part of that larger awakening that is taking place here in humanity. I've got two more stories. I'm not going to go over them. I'm just going to show you the links. This one is up on activistpost.com. I shared it earlier this week. I wrote it. U.S. House Oversight Committee, Stingray Surveillance Violates Constitution. I've done quite a bit of work on Stingray surveillance. Check that one out. I've exposed it here in Houston, and they're saying it may violate the Constitution. Will they actually do something about it? I don't know, guys. It's hard to say. This one is another one I'm working on for activistpost.com. It'll probably be up by tomorrow. It's called Here's How the Government is Working to Erode Constitutional Privacy Protections. It's about the secret FISA court here in the U.S. and some more information on that. All really important that you should know. I'll leave that to you in your own time. I'm going to post the Stingray one, and the other one I'm still writing, so look for it this weekend. And as I said earlier, if you want to get my information directly, join my journalism list. Join my journalism remind list. Let me see if I can pull it up again. And you will get a text update every time I write a new article, every time I post a new video. We've been doing man on the street interviews weekly. We've been doing the new videos like fake news is a weapon of mass destruction. So it's all important, and if you want that information directly to your phone, sign up for this text list. I'm posting it right here. I also have my positive affirmation text list. Some of you guys seem to enjoy my positive affirmation rants. There's my journalism text list. Just posted it, boom, right there for you. If you want to join my positive affirmation text list, about once a week or so I'll send out several messages related to positive affirmations, bringing the positive into your life, manifesting what you want. If you want to have some of those on your phone, join this list right now. I'm posting it for you. And remember, this is how we're going to beat the corporate deadstream media. That's another thing that we can talk about briefly before I get out of here. Let's stop calling them the mainstream. They're not the mainstream. They may have been the mainstream at one point, but they're not the mainstream. They're not the mainstream, at least in my world, in my view. In my view, they're the deadstream because what they spew is false, it's dying, it's decaying, it's propaganda. It's not something that of substance, it's not of light and of life that brings you to a higher place of living. It elevates your living standard, your mind, your soul, your spirit, any of the aspect of your existence. It is literally spewing nonsense and lies. They are not the main, the standard. We are not the alternative. We're not leftovers. We are the new media. We are the new people. We are the people. We are reclaiming our power. We are the people. We are power. And we are reclaiming that power. And we do this through the language, through the word. Remember that we're constantly being programmed either by external forces or by our own mind. So you can come up with the thoughts, the words, and then put the actions into being, and that becomes your destiny. But you got to start with the right words. So to do that, stop using the word mainstream. And when you find that popping up in your head, replace it. Mainstream. No. They're the dead stream. They are dead and dying and decaying. We are the new stream. We are here. We are the media. We are independent, but we are no one's alternative. The only thing we're an alternative to is to the establishment media. So I just want to make that clear. Conscious language is extremely important. They're not your leaders. They're not the authority figures. They're not the powers that be. They may be the powers that wish they were, but they are not. And it's important to reclaim that power and know that we are power. We are what we say we are, and we are power. Now, the last little thing I want to talk with you guys about. I meant to mention this last week, but I didn't. And you're going to get a preview of this because I'm going to do a video for this early January 1st. But you guys are following my show, so I guess I'll give you the clue straight directly. Some of you may have seen a video I did a few weeks ago where I was at a Houston action against the Dakota Access Pipeline, and the police started arresting a man, and I videotaped it. I ran over and videotaped it. I was very upset because I'd just come back from Standing Rock after being tased and pepper sprayed, and I think I was still upset in this different state of mind. But when I saw them mishandling this dude, I ran over there and I freaked out. I started cussing them out, and I didn't do anything violent, but I definitely sort of crossed the boundary between activists and journalists several times. And I was exercising my First Amendment, to say the least, and telling these cops how I felt about it. But they basically, they grabbed the guy, and I was in their face telling them, let him go, and I was filming, and the cop tried to grab my camera. I, told him to get off me. I kept moving away from the cop. Anyways, after a few minutes, the cops focused on me and they tried to grab me. I hopped on my bike and got the heck out of downtown. 2 days later, they basically issued a warrant for me and said that I had interfered with the duties of a peace officer. And that's since been taken care of now. I had to get bonded on it, and we got a court date. The court date's coming up February 8th. And it's going to be, I have 2 counts of interfering with the duties of a peace officer, and they're trying to use my past history. Some of you know my work and know my history. 10 years ago, I was a meth addict. I got arrested for possession of crystal meth. I have weapons charge, DWI, all kinds of different things. My life has drastically changed over the last 11 years. But they're going to try to drudge those things up and use them in my trial, which it's a misdemeanor trial, but at worst, what I would be dealing with is a year in the county jail, which really sucks to have to deal with that. But at the same time, I think they have no case. There's plenty of people who witnessed what really happened. We have it on camera, and I think they're just using this as an opportunity to mess with me because I've been working in Houston, questioning the mayor, questioning the former police chief, questioning all the city officials and holding them accountable and exposing them as a journalist and as an activist. And now they got something small to mess with me, and I think that's what they're doing. So just want to let you guys know that there'll be a full video coming up, and also detailing how I believe this is directly harassment of me because of my association with the Houston Freethinkers activist community. And we have evidence, we've had it for years, of the Houston Police Department monitoring our activity. They've given us emails. We have pictures from inside training sessions where they're looking at our YouTube videos. We've got clear evidence of them monitoring us. I filed open records request and I got the documents showing that they've been following us since 2010. So it's going to be an interesting court date. I'll be doing this every Friday, so at least I got, every Friday through January, and I'll give you guys updates as it progresses. But February 8th, and if you're in Houston, you want to support, we're working on an article that'll be out on the antimedia.org that's going to break down this whole story for you so you can help share that out, and I'd appreciate that information when it does come out. For now though, thank you guys for listening. I do want to invite you to follow The Conscious Resistance, facebook.com/conscious resistance. Right now my Facebook is deactivated, my personal Facebook, because I just am on a spiritual break from social media. It's helpful and healthy for me to do that periodically. But you can reach me at derrick@theconsciousresistance.com, and you can also support me on a monthly basis if you'd like to in this coming year to help me go out to Standing Rock, to go out to other places. I'm also working on a best of 2016 video that'll be out next week, showing you all the work I did in 2016. I was self-funded, I was funded by people like you, I was funded by the Activist Post and by Anti-Media, but I want to show you guys the kind of work I'm capable of, and I think you guys know. And if you want to support me so I can do more independent journalism, support me at patreon.com/Derrick Broze, and I greatly appreciate everybody who does so. I think that's all I got for today. I really appreciate your time. Go ahead and let everyone know where you're listening from one more time down there. Share this again. Go to theconsciousresistance.com. Sign up to get updates. Share the content if you find something that you like. Sign up at youtube.com/conscious resistance. Sign up at the Remind text list so I can talk to you guys no matter what happens on social media. And remember this, you are an essential part of this human awakening. Every single one of us play a role in this. For some reason, I have been tasked and called with speaking to you guys in this moment on a cellular device through a social network website to try to speak some truth or some sense into this crazy world we live in. That's what I feel called to do. But you all are doing things in your own life and your own ways and working towards the same goal, elevating us out of a place where violence is systematically accepted and inherent in the system that we live in, through the government, through corporate entities, through the police, these violent entities. And we are elevating ourselves up from that to find a place and a purpose in a world where we don't need to harm each other, we don't need to harm other forms of life, and we don't need to dominate and control each other. This is the world that we are working on, and the world I believe we can all create. If we do this, it's going to be difficult. It's going to take time, it's going to take several generations, and we might not even see it in our lifetimes. But if we commit to the task, knowing that we can create a world better than what we've seen and what past generations have seen, and we commit to using technology for the right purposes and to working in balance with this planet, I believe we are going to see, and we already are beginning to see, the outcome. It won't be complete in our lifetime, but we will see some of the fruits of our labor. So let's dedicate our lives to creating a more free, beautiful, and powerful world. That's what I'm all about. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to get my book, The Conscious Resistance, Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality, or the second book in the trilogy, Finding Freedom in an Age of Confusion, go to theconsciousresistance.com/books. Check it all out there. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you and all that you are about. Remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.